Today we have a case where this guy, he's an engineer in his late 50s, wife is a homemaker reaching the age of 55 quite soon. Together, they live with their son in a 5-room HDB flat that is fully paid. Now the total value, if I show you, of what he owns seems to be about $1.63 million, correct? There is CPF, there is stocks, there's T-bills, there's SRS, there's even UOB1 account and fixed deposits, all inside the equation. But if we look in terms of those assets that are liquid, we have to exclude the retirement account, the special account from his wife, and the MediSave account. So in total, the liquid net worth is around $1.08 million. Of course, there's still the SRS, which I've boxed up in the bottom left in blue. That's not really liquid. But bear in mind, he's just a couple of years away from age 62. So it's kind of liquid already in my opinion. So these are the assets in today's case. He's also shared me some of his other investments and a particular situation that he is in. So if you are curious to find out, continue watching. Hi guys, welcome back. Let's pull up again his asset chart that shows some of his liquid assets. What I'd like to point everybody's attention is that I believe that he's pretty savvy actually. His MediSave account is at a full basic healthcare sum, $71,500, which means he's been topping up religiously. I guess he's been seeing some of the tax relief ideas that we've presented on this channel. Then also I observed that his wife's special account is actually above the full retirement sum already, and it has to be that he's been topping up to it. But the other red arrow that I'm pointing is that her MediSave seems pretty dry, $8,600 to be exact. And this MediSave balance suggests that she hasn't worked too much in her career and that it can still be a place for him to top up if you like tax relief. Do bear in mind, MediSave contribution to spouse below the $4,000 annual income range is still tax relief qualifiable, so do look out for it. And while MediSave cannot be drawn out for retirement needs, I guess in retirement everybody will go to hospital at some point. It's the unfortunate reality. So MediSave savings are definitely also for a rainy day. Then the other thing I observed is that the ordinary account is dry, $0, which suggests that previously he's transferred from her OA to her SA. So there are pros and cons. I'll leave links above to it, or you could wait towards the end of this video. I'll leave it there also. Now this brings upon a next question. What to do with retirement account, correct? As you have heard already, Mr. Lawrence Wong has mentioned that from 2025, next year onwards, retirement account will be bumped up to allow 2 times of full retirement sum. So he's mentioned explicitly that he's planning to pump up to the enhanced retirement sum ERS in 2025 for his as well as for hers, and he's not sure if it's a good idea or not. Now let's look back at his own retirement account. Right now there is $341,000. Maybe you are not too sure about retirement account, so let me explain a bit more. You may be curious, how come there is $341,000? Isn't the enhanced retirement sum currently about $308,000, which is 1.5x of full retirement sum? How come there's $341,000? Now I can explain. That's because retirement account monies also compound at 4.05% currently, and that's why the value would grow. And currently it shows $341,000, suggests that he probably topped up to it when he reached the age of 55. So with some years of compounding, it got to this figure. And that's why it's quite easy for me to answer the question whether it's a good idea or not for his case. It's quite obvious that he's a believer of it, so if he believes the benefits of stashing away some monies to cover for long-term expenses, then do the same for a wife. I think no problem for it. There seems to be enough assets, especially in the special account, whereby in 2025, the special account 4.05% will be flushed towards the ordinary account, drawing only 2.5%. So at that point of time, maybe that $295,000, I'll suggest for him to use some to top up to his own retirement account, and then to draw out some as cash to top up to his wife's retirement account. In that way, both will be at enhanced retirement sum, which is close to $4,000 each. 4,000 times 2, that's 8,000. Voila! Retirement settled already, correct? But that again is in 10, 11, 12 years time, whereby both of them get to age of 65. But to answer whether it's enough or not, we always got to reflect that amount against expenses, correct? And that's what I asked from him also. This is what he's kindly shared with us. A monthly expense tracker that lasts for 10 years. Wow, that's a bit extreme. But hey, more data is always better than less data, correct? And we can learn from this also. It shows that as a family, there doesn't seem to be too much of lifestyle inflation. 2015, there is a big jump. That's because of car. But you see it's roughly around 60,000-70,000 per year in family total monthly expenses. Now, everybody can complain about food price going up, GST going up. But the reality is that if you choose simpler options, government's CDC voucher can cover some of that surplus and it doesn't inflate that much as what we all fear sometimes. So I'd like to congratulate him for having a good control of expenses. And what I can guess is from a last year's average, it seems to be about 5,756 per month that he would need, excluding insurance costs. He's kindly also shared that if including insurance, it costs about $7,200 per month that he would need currently. And while 2024's expenses have inched up slightly, my gut feeling is that minus away some insurance that completes in premium, plus some inflation, gut feeling 8,000 per month if there are 2 enhanced retirement sum ERS when both are age of 65 and above is more than enough already. So good news, and to that topic, let's move on to insurance that he has on hand, that he has some questions that I can answer for everybody. What he has inside his insurance portfolio is firstly a mortgage protector that costs 5,361 per year until the age of 2032. If there's no claims, this premium will be fully back. Actually, that's the reason why this mortgage insurance is so expensive. It's the money back mortgage insurance kind. I much suggest you would take a pure insurance whereby there's no money back. It probably costs only $1,000 than 5,361. And below that, in item number 2, there are 6 whole life plans. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with insurance or not, but whole life plans, in my opinion, in how I plan for private clients, is a permanent layer of insurance. Because it's permanent insurance, the cost is typically a bit higher. It's meant to be a catch-all situation, which means also you don't need too much of whole life plans. And what we can see from here is that there seems to be a lot of duplication. If I were to build, I would suggest just one whole life plan and then stack term plans on top to meet various protection needs. So if you'd like to find out, I'll leave links below on an article I've written before on start with a whole life plan and build on it. And as always, if you like a full retirement planning on a fee base, check out my links below on how I can help. Now back to his question, what should he do with his whole life policies? Personally, I would like to cash some of them out, especially those that are the old style perpetual premium for lifetime kind. It's a bit annoying because that's expense, and whole life plan is not meant to deliver a good rate of return. So I'll probably keep the Flexi Life 60. 60 means pay to 60 in my understanding, which means it'll be fully paid for him pretty soon. The other 2, if there is perpetual premium, then prioritize them to be cashed out. But again, I don't know his health condition. I cannot make direct recommendations. I'll just suggest what I would like to do. And cashing out, the next question is what to do with that. So I'll just leave it as a friendly personal opinion for him to consider a bit further. Through this summary table, it shows that some of these insurance plans will complete premium or drop off, like the mortgage protector. And speaking about this mortgage protector, there's a reason for it, correct? It hints that he has actually another property. His HDB flat is fully paid. He owns actually a condo in addition to his fully paid HDB, which is very similar to my situation a couple of years back, where I own both a HDB and a condo. I've actually cashed out on my HDB a year ago, and I had a pretty good selling experience with Own My Home, who's today's sponsor. Now, if you're curious about your own property, if you're looking to sell your home soon, Own My Home also takes care of the entire sales process for you, including valuation report, professional photography, advertising, documentation, and deal closing. Their fees start with just 1% as compared to the market rate of 2%. Plus, they are also confident that they can sell your home within 3 months at the optimal price, otherwise they'll just waive off the fees. In addition, Oh My Home has this unique new tool, Homer AI. With Homer AI, you have access to real-time information of your home evaluation, while also seeing how much your neighbors have sold and are selling their homes for. All the recent transactions, what's the lowest price, what's the highest selling price, you can find it on the tool itself. Besides that, they have a new feature called Match, which shows the recent potential buyer matches by matching your listing to over 100,000 buyers from a ready-made buyer pool. With this, you'll be able to know the demand for your property even before putting out a listing. This will not only help you sell more efficiently, but also sell faster and at a higher market price. But perhaps the more important feature is this calculator tab. Here, you'll be able to easily find out how much cash proceeds you will receive when you sell your home, how much you can actually afford for your next dream home, as well as to calculate the monthly mortgage payment that you can expect from your new home. Homer AI is totally free to use, and because I have a deal with them, use my links below, sign up with your mobile phone, sync your HDB flat using SingPass, and that's it. You get a $5 NTUC voucher absolutely free. With that said, let's get back to the video. Now back to today's case, and let's find out a bit deeper on his condo that he actually owns right now. He's kindly shared that currently that condo is a 2-bedroom unit rented out at $3,200 per month. It's about 10 years old and he bought it at about $700,000. Congrats, I think this property has appreciated a bit, and later I'll show you some of my guesses. The current outstanding loan for it is $392,000, locked in at 1.69% per annum. Wow, this is a good rate that is only found in 2022 if I'm not wrong. So good that he has locked it in because it's really saving on his mortgage expenses. The reason he has a mortgage insurance is because there's this $392,000 in loan. But having said that, maybe I'll pose a question. Is there a real need for an investment property's mortgage to be insured or not? Which means, if I paraphrase, do you really need to buy a death coverage for a mortgage loan on an investment property? Usually the answer is yes, but I'd like to present an alternative point of view, which is no, because if it's an investment property, it's rented out, family is not staying there. What happens if he passes on? Home is actually not affected. The family just takes the property and sell it off and cash it in if the mortgage cannot be tolerated. So that's an alternative point of view I'd like to present. But let's make some guesses on his rental property cash flow. If I were to work backwards, maybe the loan amount is $425,000 back a couple of years ago. Assuming a 20-year loan, the remaining balance in August 2025 should be around $368,000, which is pretty easy to pay off with his assets if interest rates spike up, for example. The monthly mortgage payment right now should be about $2,000 to $2,100, and just like I mentioned that his rental income is about $3,200. That means that could be about $1,000, $1,200 net rent income. Of course, there is agent costs, conservancy charges, personal tax, property tax. You know, government has been actually tweaking property tax quite a lot in the recent 1-2 years, especially those properties that have been rented up. So in this recent article, can a retiree afford to keep pricey homes in an era of rising annual values? Annual value impacts the total property tax, and that if property tax goes up, the cash flow is impacted. What I can show is that the non-owner occupier rate has actually inched up quite a bit in the last 5-10 years. So small units pay a few $100 more per year in terms of property tax, but big units now pay a few thousand more per year in property tax. So all in all, I think the net cash flow from property should be about $500 to $700, which is still good. It's still a positive cash flow situation. So not too much to worry, correct? But he's highlighted something that makes this case today quite interesting, which is he is considering strongly that his son might need a big overseas education cost. This is why he has shared he might need to consider poly and then sending for overseas degree or overseas foundation course. My kids are still in primary school, so I don't know too much about after secondary school situation. And if he does, he need to send his son overseas, they might plan to go as a family to cut down on costs and rent out the HDB. Actually, that's a pretty smart idea. Since he may be retired at that point of time and wife is a homemaker, might as well everybody go overseas. And his HDB 5-room flat could fetch in $4,000. So that could really save the equation a lot. Now the main goal is he's trying to fund the studies without selling this condo investment that he shared with us. So I did a curious search. How much does it cost for a Singaporean to study, for example, in Australia? Australia is a popular destination. Of course, if you go to UK or US, it could be more expensive. But let's put the yardstick down and say it's for Australia. This article actually shows good breakdowns. For a degree, it could cost between 15 to 33,000 annually, which means about 100,000 in total, excluding lodging and expenses. Again, we mentioned if he rents out his HDB and moves everybody there, then this extra lodging and expenses is covered by the HDB rent. If not, may need to factor in like 50,000 per year, which is extra 150,000 in total budgets. So all in all, total might need 250,000 if he wants to help his son get an Australian overseas degree, which means also if we were to pull up the previous summary table on cash assets, the Treasury bills 150,000 and Great Eastern Series 12 plan is already able to allow that expense to be funded already. So it doesn't seem to be a big problem. And I actually have a further suggestion. On his private property, he can actually take out a term loan. And if he does so, he can draw like 100,000. And that only means that his monthly mortgage will step up. The consequence is his rent cash flow of $500 to $700 per month is just sacrificed for that 100,000 loan. So that could be a further trick to keep on hand and to be used only if mortgage rates are not expensive. Then the other question is, Australian dollar is cheap right now, correct? Why not buy a property over there in Sydney or Melbourne, or lock up some Australian fixed deposits? Generally, I don't like that idea. I think Sing dollar is very strong. Yes, there can be short-term rebounds in Australian dollar, but if you were to look in this chart for Sing dollar against Australian dollar, you would see that in the long term, it's probably not a good idea to own Australian assets as a Singaporean. Hopefully you liked today's discussion, and I'd like to leave some useful concluding points. Before you get that, smash the like button if you haven't done so already, and press on subscribe, especially if you like cases like this that helps you understand your own family finances better. And the first point I'd like to raise for everybody's attention is, all this is achieved because the expenses are low. The mortgage on his HDB 5-room flat is low. So if you commit to a big home, you realize you can't build all these assets. You're already banking on the property's appreciation. The second point, which is for him, my gut feeling looking at the entire equation is he likely has enough for retirement because the expenses, again, is not very high. Especially when both CPF Life starts paying out, the equation is more or less solved already. So the pain point is only in the next few years, whereby SRS can come back, whereby he actually still has some stock investments. Which leads to a third conclusion, focus back a bit more on long-term investments and getting dividend income. He shared with me that he previously invested a bit more and he's staying out of the markets, but I think there's generally a misconception that elderlies need to be very conservative and not take volatility. That's absolutely not true. Warren Buffett is older than almost all of us, and he is big in the equity markets buying businesses. So although I say that I wouldn't buy DBS shares right now, if you have DBS shares as a retiree, as an elderly, I think it's still good to keep as dividends, rather than sell and buy and hope to trade on it. Buying and holding quality companies for dividends like DBS is just a very simple dividend income source to add into the retirement equation. If you haven't seen my previous video on DBS, check it out. I understand that DBS shares price is a bit higher right now, but I have reasons as to why I believe that now is a peak cycle for banks. Check this video out and I'll see you there too. Take care as always. Goodbye.